Hey all, Cohen here. Uh, Again, I know I said I'd make a video sooner, I just haven't found the time. Mentally, I've felt very a mess. Um, and it's actually 1 o'clock in the morning, and I can't sleep, and I don't want to wake anybody up, so I'm sitting in my mudroom. So if you're wondering why I'm in my jacket and my hat, and this doesn't look like my car, because it's not, and it's cold out right now. It was warm out today, but now it's chillier out, and I live on the corner of an intersection where there's fields, so there's a lot of wind. Anyhow, I'll do some quick updates. So when I was talking to everyone last, I'd been talking about how I had a consult with the urologist that removed my bladder stone and also removed my testicular implant for me. Anyhow, I had set up the consult and I went in and I explained that I have a fistula that's like pretty much a pinhole that I need I need a revision done, I need it fixed. And so in my mind, I thought, why not try first? Because at the end of the day, this person is a urologist that deals mainly with males, and my fistula is like at the base of my phallus, and it's a small pinhole, and it's not like further back where it might be an issue. Anyhow, majority of people are, and I believe this too, that it should be something that should be able to be fixed because phalloplasty was created for cis men, and urologists deal a lot with urethral issues. They deal with fistulas that happen to cis men because sometimes they happen out of nowhere to cis men. I don't know about trans men. I haven't heard anything about like later on, so many years after, but I've never heard of anything. Strictures in cis men that just develop. There are many different surgeries. There are people who have shortened urethras that need them lengthened, crooked urethras, many things that could happen. And some of these things are actually things that we as trans men who go through bottom surgery end up dealing with. And I very much so understand that WPATH is something that is very important and that they need to have surgeons that are connected with WPATH so that it's more along the lines of knowing that that surgeon is like trained and knows how to care for trans patients versus just assuming somebody will be able to help you. Now, it's not like I just want anybody to do it. However, I did trust this surgeon with my other surgeries, even though I was still like not completely done surgeries. But it's just frustrating because I literally was in there for 5 minutes. I quickly showed him, and he barely looked for 2 seconds and was like, I can't help you. And also, I don't feel comfortable doing it, which is fine. I understand it. If you don't feel comfortable, then I don't want you touching me. And he said it needs a skin graft, but it's just very frustrating and confusing that a small hole that needs a skin graft is something that a very good urologist that has a lot of patients and does a lot of work and mainly, I believe, deals with men only. So at the end of the day, it's kind of frustrating because it is something that should be able to be done here, but obviously I wasn't sure, and I honestly didn't think that it was going to be an option. So what I have done is I've decided that, unfortunately, as a Canadian, I don't know what it's going to be like in the US. I don't know when I would get a surgery date. So I have decided that I am not going back to Crane Centers. I do not know the surgeons in San Francisco office, and when I left, one of the surgeons I met, I didn't vibe with, didn't like his attitude. He was very cocky, and I don't appreciate that. Sorry about all the ums. Like I said, I'm mentally drained. So I have decided that I'm going to go to Align Medical, where Dr. Safer is working. That is the clinic that he had started after he left Crane's office. And I will be going to LA for that, from what I understand. I've called the office and they have booked me in for a Zoom call with Dr. Safer on April 22nd. It's been a bit since we've talked face to face. He has been amazing, even though he was only my surgeon for my first 2 stages. He has followed me and I follow him on Instagram, and I still have his number. He still allows me to message him if I need anything and if I have any questions. And what I had done was I had shot him a message and explained what was going on and that I don't really feel safe going to Texas. And I feel like LA would be a better option considering I don't have any options in Canada at this point in time. So he was more than willing to help me, which is amazing. And I had surgery with him the first 2 times. And if his clinic would have been set up at the time to take my insurance, I totally would have went with him. I really, really like him. Nothing against Crane or anything. I just had a really good connection with Dr. Safer and felt very confident and well cared for and everything like that. So I had a good experience with both, but Safer was someone that just really lined up with other surgeons that I've had in the past in their compassion and care, so that really struck me. And was the one reason why I wanted to go back to him, and also knowing that he is in an area that should be more trans friendly. Traveling to the US as a Canadian, I don't know what that will be like, and I only know what my friends in the US are telling me, and unfortunately it's not great things, and I know that as a Canadian I'm probably not at risk. However, there's still that fear of it, especially when you go for surgery, because you don't ever want to get into an altercation when you're trying to recover, and I've not heard of any really happening. There have been a few, but nothing where it seems to be a huge problem. So at this point, like I said, I contacted Dr. Safer's office. I have my Zoom consult booked. I went to my doctor's office this past Friday, and I asked them to send in a request from OHIP for coverage for going to Dr. Safer for my revision, so that hopefully this will be my last surgery. In previous videos, I had mentioned that my one testicular implant that I had replaced sits a bit high. However, it has moved down a little bit, but I have noticed that because the testicular implant is about half the size of the one on the other side, there isn't a lot of weight that is kind of like letting it drop more. So the one side, the scrotum looks smaller, and the other side, it looks more like average. So I don't know, because I don't want to mess around with a lot of stuff, and it's not a big issue. It's just like awkward to me and weird when like I'm gotta touch my balls and one's a good amount smaller than the other. So I don't know what I want to do, considering I did have an issue the first time. I don't know if I want to play around with that junk. But yeah, so I'm going to be talking to him about what his opinion is, what he thinks he can do, and at the end of the day, I just want to get this fistula closed up. It literally has been the bane of my existence, and the fact that it went away for a good like month and a bit, and then it just came right back. I don't know if it's the same one. All I know is that a dissolvable stitch that did not dissolve, which you guys have heard me talk about many times, how my body doesn't react well to dissolvable stitches. I did request regular stitches, but that didn't end up happening. So a very knotted stitch ended up getting stuck in my skin and then decided to stay there. And then when it decided to make its way out, it had actually caused a hole in my urethra and then all the way out through the rest of my skin when it pushed out, which caused my fistula. So when I go to Dr. Safer, I am making sure that they use normal thread. I don't care if it pokes, whatever, like plastic thread pokes too. I just don't want to have to deal with all these little issues, and I feel like dissolvable stitches could have caused a few issues. And like I said before, to be honest, I feel like primary healthcare and the healthcare that I have back at home has just not been adequate to help me recover, and that I believe has caused quite a few of my complications that have happened when I've come home. Because generally, I don't have many complications before I come home. It might be like the odd worry, but usually it's fine. And then I get home, and then things just change from stress and from lack of having care. So at this point, I am just awaiting my consult, and when I hear about that, I'll get back to everyone to let everyone know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'll be able to book a date at that time or if they would have to call me back a few days later, but hopefully I can book a date and it won't be too far off. I don't want to wait too long. I would rather get this taken care of as long as it doesn't interfere with a few things that I have going on that are important. Then that's what counts. My niece's first birthday is coming up and she lives over in BC, so I'm gonna be heading out to BC for a couple days in June to go for her birthday, and I have Pride at the beginning of June, and I have a community with Benbrook meetup in the middle of June, and I'm sure a couple other things that I'll have to do. My wife's birthday is in June. There's tons of birthdays in June. My son finishes school and starts and is already going to be playing soccer probably by that time. So we'll see. Like April would just be like not doable. May would be like more free for me, but I don't know if that would be just like too quick and probably not be able to get in. So like I'm hoping for maybe a July or August date, if not September. But waitlists are waitlists, and can't do nothing about it. So fingers crossed that it'll be sooner rather than later, and that I'll have some good news to share with everyone when I update you. I want to make another video regarding how I've been feeling a bit lately, regarding friendships and relationships, and just how, like, I mainly interact with people over social media. I don't really see people a lot in person, so, and that's kind of just like not by my choice. I just don't have a lot of people to hang out with. So, I kind of want to talk about stuff, and it's not like in videos that I've done before, people are going to assume that I'm talking about them, which, like, if I'm talking about you, you're probably not even talking to me anymore. So, like, if we're still talking, then I'm not talking about you. But if for some reason, like, we haven't talked in a long time and, like, I've felt a certain way about it or I've tried to keep up with you and I've been ignored, then yeah, I am going to feel a certain way. And there are people who have just completely dropped me, and I don't appreciate it. I think that most of us are adults, and we should act like adults. We can at least have a conversation. I know that if somebody is completely toxic in your life, then I understand, completely shut them out. But if there is someone who hasn't really done anything or hasn't been a toxic part of your life or hasn't done anything toxic or bad to you, and you just need your alone time from socializing, that's completely fine. But like at least let people know, or a heads up or something like that, just so that people don't feel stupid continuing to try to check in on you and then having you just get mad at that or ghost. Because at the end of the day, ghosting people isn't mature either. So like, unless you're coming out of a brutal situation, I don't think there's any reason to ghost people or ignore them. You can be an adult and you can have conversations and talk about it. And I'm that type of person. So for me, If you don't want to put in that effort, then that's going to be a problem for me. And that's been something that's been like getting worse since COVID ended. Like when COVID was going on, obviously people were scared, and whatnot. And afterwards, it just seemed like people became so comfortable with being alone or with whatever, which is fine, that it became a thing where, for me personally, being somebody who is a loyal friend, and I'm not tooting my own horn, like you can even like ignore me for months and then come back and I'll be like, hey, how you doing? But it's a matter of like sometimes that loyalty gets stretched too far. So I would really like to talk about that because I know I'm not the only person who experiences this. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not the most mature person. I'm not the most prime example of an adult. However, I do like to try to converse with people and sort things out if possible, or at least clear the air instead of just like wandering off or, you know, disappearing. Because at the end of the day, you also don't get to disappear for months or over a year and then come back and feel hurt if I don't recognize your phone number anymore or if I don't care to talk to you, you know? I can only take so much, and if you call me your friend, I think that we're friends, depending on the degree, but at the same time, like, you don't just fuck off on your friends. Sorry, you don't. And if you do, then, I don't think that's being grown. I think that's being immature and cowardly and very unproductive. And I don't think that that will help you further on in relationships either. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but I'm also not going to put up with bullshit. So we'll talk about that in my next video. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.